Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having an incredible day. Before we begin, something very important has happened, rather more so over the cryptocurrency space throughout the weekend. It appears as if we have entered a very pivotal moment in the history of cryptocurrencies. I'm going to call this myself the put up or shut up moment. For those who have no idea what that is or may not have English as a first language, it pretty much means if you say that you can do something, it's time for you to do it. And this more so comes down to the fact that by the end of this year, I firmly believe that everyone, every project, every coin, regardless of who they are, what they are, where they come from, who created them, has to prove themselves by the end of this year, because we've gotten to the point where people in the cryptocurrency community have started, I don't want to say rightfully calling out other people, but it's more so if you say that you can do something and your project is this and your project is that, it's time for you to show it. And without further ado, like I said, this goes throughout the entire video. Not just for one section. The entire thing is a put up or shut up moment. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse says he believes the company's partnership with MoneyGram will have a bigger impact on the crypto industry than Facebook's Libra. In a new interview with Yahoo Finance, Garlinghouse says banks that Ripple approached 2 years ago are now interested in the company's XRP-based cross-border payment solution known as XRapid. He said, and I do quote, "The MoneyGram deal is really one of the first scaled use cases of a digital asset in production. This is a big deal. If I were betting now, a year from now, the MoneyGram deal will have a more consequential impact on the crypto markets than the Libra white paper. Banks that 2 years ago told me, hey, we love your technology, we're thrilled to be working with you, but we're not going to use your crypto." I said, okay, great. Some of those same banks are now coming back and saying, hey, let's talk about that because they see the value, end quote. Backtracking a tiny bit, it is widely believed by analysts and even very prominent people within the cryptocurrency space, developers, coders, people who've been around even longer than I have, who give talks, etc., what have you. They believe that the launch of Facebook's token, coin, whatever you kind of want to call it, is going to have an incredible impact on the cryptocurrency space for a number of reasons. The three quickest ones that I can think of off the top of my head are the launch of a cryptocurrency or a crypto token or a digital payment method through one of the largest social media platforms in the entire world. They have access to around 2.4 billion people. If 2.4 billion people hear the word cryptocurrencies, they will also begin to apparently associate it with the word Bitcoin, and therefore Bitcoin will also gain attention. The second factor is that when Libra launches, we'll be able to see a side-by-side comparison of Libra to the price of Bitcoin, and we will actually see the deflationary nature of Bitcoin in comparison to Libra, and how Libra's price goes down day by day, month by month, year by year in comparison to Bitcoin's price, as Libra is a currency that is meant for the world, so they say, and therefore they will need to release more as more people on the earth are being born, if that kind of makes any sense. So he's saying this is why I said it's a very big moment. We've heard before in the past. For those of you who don't know, I do hold just about every single coin in the top 10, some other random coins. So I do hold Bitcoin, do hold Ether, do hold XRP, do hold Litecoin. If you've watched the channel long enough, I don't have to tell you what I don't hold because it's fairly obvious at this point. Brad Garlinghouse has come out many times before. Not many. I want to say twice. He's been very careful with his words as far as what he said. At least twice he has come out saying that this is going to happen with XRP. This is going to happen with the cryptocurrency. This is going to happen with Xcurrent. This is going to happen with XRapid. And now we've gotten to the point where when you state something like this, the cryptocurrency community pays attention. There are a number of people out there dedicated to combing through the Ripple/XRP/XRapid news to see what's happening with their project, with their coin, with the stuff that they hold. When you say, first of all, keeping in mind, it is heavily believed that Libra will have an enormous impact on the financial world and also the cryptocurrency space. to think or say my opinion that you think MoneyGram using XRP is a bigger deal than Libra, that holds a lot of weight. And it's kind of like if by next year, even the end of this year, if this hasn't caused any significant movement with XRP, I think it'll be, I don't want to say detrimental to the project, because I could definitely see Ripple / XRP doing extremely well in 2021, 2022. But I'm going to try and be as honest as possible during this video. I've noticed an enormous, and I don't mean some, I mean a heavy amount of people within the Ripple / XRP community who are fatigued. It is very odd that there are an enormous amount of partnerships and this and that and so and so and so, yet the value of XRP doesn't rise. I mentioned before what I think that it is that we have not yet entered the so-called alt season, or even a period yet in 2019 where Bitcoin has not had an enormous amount of the spotlight. So this is why I find it very fascinating that these things are also being said. Keeping also in mind, for those of you who were here last year, Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, announced last year that the end of this year, 2019, dozens and dozens with an S, so not a dozen, but dozens of banks would be using XRP to transact value around the world. Don't think that I'm spreading FUD about anything in this video. I've told you all before, if something happens within the cryptocurrency community, whether it be negative, even if it has something negative to do with Bitcoin or any other coin, especially ones that I'm holding, I will still tell you, because I think it's vital information. I think it's something that everyone within the cryptocurrency space should know. I think it's a very good way to figure out where you should be putting your money, what projects should have your attention, because your attention is very valuable, and just figuring out exactly what you think is going to make it more so in the long run. According to Garlinghouse, Ripple will sign around 100 new contracts this year, with around 20% involving XRapid and XRP. That means, give or take, 1 out of every 5 contracts that they're signing will be using XRapid and or XRP, or rather the exact same, same thing, what have you. This also ties into the news that we've had. I think there are currently, I can't remember if the number is 13, 18, or 20. I'm mixing them up in my head for some reason, that are already using XRP or plan to be implementing XRP in the very near future. So by the end of this year, by all accounts, adding up simple math, we should have anywhere from 33 to 40 companies who have openly announced that they are going to be using XRP / XRapid to send payments, whether around the world, whether local. We also had news very recently that the MoneyTap app within Japan was also going to be using XRP. So it's a very exciting time. It's more of a, I think a lot of people, and I mentioned many other times before, it's difficult not to be impatient, simply because, honestly, as humans, we understand our mortality. We understand that we will not be here forever. So logically speaking, we would like to be as rich as possible, as quickly as possible. And I think we've come to the moment where, because things aren't moving, a seismic shift in the energy that's kind of flowing around. 2017 was the moment where everyone got really rich, everyone made a lot of money. 2018 was the kind of the lull period. But during that lull period, as things were going down, a lot of projects made a lot of promises talking about where they were going to go, how much they were going to have, who was going to use their stuff, and they were acquiring banks, and they were buying this, and they were so and so and so. But none of this has really shown thus far. So I have a bit of a longer time frame as far as how long I will stay with a project. Mine typically ranges, I'm like stretching my arm out as if everyone is like watching me. I typically, around till 2021 to 2022 is the time frame that I'm going to give a number of cryptocurrency projects to see if I'm going to continue holding them. I think that Ripple and XRP will continue to do very well, but the news has to translate into something. A lot of people have also, there's a huge thing going around right now. Okay, you know what? And I really mean this. I'm going to tell you this honestly. People have been asking me these questions, and sometimes I don't float around them, but other times I just really don't want to get into the entire topic and discussion. So I'll do it right now. There's also a petition going around as well. I think that this comes from a member of the actual XRP community. Not that they're like so tight knit that they all know each other, but this is someone who apparently has been in the Ripple XRP space for quite a long amount of time. There's a petition going around telling the people from Ripple to stop selling the XRP that they hold. There are a number of reasons why I think this is happening, why they continue to sell, and why I think they will sell for at least another 7 months. And I give you that time frame, I'll explain why. I firmly believe myself that at some point the SEC came forward to multiple cryptocurrency projects and told them, it looks like you might be considered a security because of this, because of this, because of X, Y, and Z. I think that this is why the people from Ethereum noted last year that they had a number of lawyers who were working with the SEC, because I believe that they were also going to be called a security because they did have an ICO. I think this has happened maybe to Litecoin, maybe. I think it happened to the people from EOS. It definitely happened to the people from Kin. It happened to pretty much every single major coin outside of Bitcoin has probably had a discussion with the SEC at some point. And I think the people from Ripple, especially as they were one of the first and foremost to come forward saying, hey, we don't mind regulation, please sit at our table. I think the people from the SEC spoke to them, said, you need more nodes on your network. This is why last year we had indications that the people from Ripple had less than 50% of all nodes, and they said that would continue over and over, and that they would be giving other nodes. We had information that they had been given to universities in America, universities in Asia. I think a couple were in Japan as well. They were more evenly spread out. I think the second part of this, and this is what people have been asking me, here it goes. I think that the people from Ripple were probably told as well, how many XRP exactly do you own? And I think at that point, I think they owned 60 billion. So it was around 59% after the coin burn of all the XRP that was kind of floating around. And I think they were told by the SEC, you have to find a way to get those to the public. You can't own them. You can't control them. They can't be in your coffers any longer. And this is why after the escrow releases 1 billion per month, and any leftover gets put back into another escrow for the remaining, or for another 60 months. I think this is why they've continued to sell the XRP. And if you've paid attention, remember a couple of months ago, or maybe even a month ago at this point, maybe a month and some change, Brad Garlinghouse came forward and he said, we've done very well with our selling of XRP, but I think we're going to slow down the actual selling of it. I don't have the article here now that I even think about it. I should have had it up here. I mean, I wasn't expecting to talk about this. He said that they're going to slow down the actual selling of XRP, and a lot of people in the cryptocurrency space, especially people who don't like Ripple, who don't like XRP, were like, well, that just means it sucks. That just means it's terrible. That means nobody even wants it anymore. And I'm like, no, I'm lining up all the pieces of the puzzle, and it seems like as they get closer to the point where they are only in possession of less 49.9%, if not lower, of all the XRP that is circulating, I think they're going to either stop selling it to the open public, to the investors who want it, or they're going to slow it down even further than they once announced. I think the main point is that they continuously open up, rather they cannot control the opening up of the escrow. It is an automatic thing that happens on a 5-year loop. It continuously happens until maybe the next 20 years. I don't know exactly how long they have the escrow for. Once they've released 1 billion every month, and they've mentioned before, we sold 250 million XRP, 200 and blah 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 blah. I think once they've sold enough XRP that they no longer hold a majority amount, this is when I think they're going to stop selling. And I would not be surprised if at that point that the SEC would then come forward in their favor and kind of say, we also now consider XRP to not be a security. I think there's a reason why they've held back. Well, first of all, we know that people from the SEC and buddies of people from the SEC are sitting on Ripple's board of members and board of so-and-so and blah, 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 blah. They all know each other. So I assume in some way this is also coordinated. I assume, like I said, this has happened, I'm sure this has happened across every single cryptocurrency project. I just think that Ripple gets a lot of the spotlight because of when they were released, how they came out, their original criteria for use, and exactly what they stand for, if that makes a lot of sense. I don't assume at any point that they're going to have a more favorable outlook by Bitcoin maximalists out there. I'm not really expecting that, or even I could actually care less. Like it's on the ground and I could care even less. The point being, this is why I think that they're doing what they're doing. This is why I think we see a continued expansion of Ripple, regardless of the actual negative sentiment. So what this comes down to is, in my opinion, I think we are reaching the beginning of the end. Doesn't really accurately say what's happening. It's more like if we get to a point this year, 2019, where Bitcoin has gone up, skyrocketed, and I'm going to even give you the time frame of a $20,000 to a $25,000 Bitcoin. If the other altcoins haven't reacted positively the same way that they haven't been doing as Bitcoin has been rising the last couple of months, I think a lot of altcoins are going to falter. I assume myself that there's enough money in the market, especially backing a company like Ripple, especially the people who are also backing Ethereum and potentially even backing EOS and maybe a couple of other coins, that these coins will also rise simply out of air quotes, oh my gosh, this has to rise or something bad is going to happen type of feeling. The same exact thing. And so many people forget the past very easily. And this is what I find the most hilarious, is that for those of you who were here when Ethereum launched, I remember the day Ethereum launched. I remember their ICO and everyone was calling it a scam. Ethereum existed for a couple of months. It wasn't doing very well at all. And I mean at all. Price was slipping every single day, going down and down and down. Vitalik Buterin came forward and said, if something doesn't happen, we're going to have to abandon the project because we're actually running out of money. About 3 weeks later, the price of Ethereum, I think, tripled. It was like $1, maybe 80 cents. It was something incredibly low. The price tripled. And I think within a couple of days, it was around $8. And everyone was like, wow, that's such huge gains. And people started buying into it. This is what I think is going to happen to a lot of other coins out there. I think prices remain suppressed because you keep this in mind forever. We are dealing with a market that will eventually, at some point, either the end of this year or the middle of next year, will have $1 trillion market cap. There's a lot of money to be made. And if you can suppress prices in any way, and I don't mean just from Ripple, I mean from every other coin, don't assume that there isn't possibly active suppression across the wider cryptocurrency space. I think Vitalik Buterin and all the other people, I think they're either 100 millionaires or they're billionaires at this point. So don't assume that there isn't some type of an inner working. I'm not saying, manipulation on their part, but something happening amongst people who are trying to make more money to actively push these things down. If you have a situation where you have a cryptocurrency that is, 29 cents, 30 cents right now for XRP, and we're getting calls for a potential $10 or $15 XRP over the next year or 2 years or even 3 years, you don't get these returns with any other asset. You don't get, what would that be? That's over, what was that? 1,500% increase or somewhere, it's something crazy like that. Even though it's even more than that, you don't get that in real estate. You don't get that in gold and silver. You don't get that in platinum. You don't even get that owning land. These are very huge amounts of numbers that these people are going to make. And this is why when the people from Ripple do end up selling, $250 million worth of XRP over the course of, that's a huge amount of money. And now imagine being able to 30x that. This is why I think prices are still being suppressed, but it cannot go on forever. i.e., if there's only so many of something and people continuously buying, even if it is over the counter, how Ripple keeps selling, at a certain point, it does end. These people can't buy anymore. And this is when people start to realize that the price has gone up. Anyway, this is just my opinion on this situation, since people have been asking me for a couple of weeks now. Sorry for having had not swam around the issue, but it's a very deep issue. It's a very heavy topic to talk about in the cryptocurrency space, simply because of who's involved, what is involved, and the number of people out there who are either invested in XRP, hold XRP, are looking to see what the next steps of Ripple and XRP are going to be. The people from Ripple talk very big. Don't forget this is the same exact company who has partnered with almost every major bank in Japan. They've partnered with, I said another day, 80% of all banks in India. And about 3 people screamed at me in bold and italics in the comment section that apparently they have 100% of all banks in India. I have not checked that information, but this is what people are telling me. They also have partnered with many, I mean, we know of at least 250 banks at the moment. So they play a big game. One of my friends, who's also heavily into cryptocurrencies, he mentioned before, he said he feels the exact same thing in the air. He said we're entering we have entered a period where we have walked through the door where you can't keep saying that you're going to be doing this and so and so and so, and you're going to have these type of not power, but price increase and blah blah blah. We're going to be this fast, cool, awesome, mega amazing, and you don't show it. At a certain point, people will abandon old projects and start pushing their money into Bitcoin, and it's more of a matter of when rather than if. Only people can only hold on for so long, and I think even the other hyper dedicated people to a number of other cryptocurrency projects, if Bitcoin goes to 50,000 and your coin increases by 8% during that same exact time, you're going to sell your coin. So the end of this year is going to be a very pivotal moment for Ripple and XRP. I personally hope, I like Ripple. Maybe it's just simply nostalgia. I think that's maybe the word to use, as far as I've been with them since the very, very beginning. I saw when they were coming out, so I know a lot about their project and the people who are on it, and so and so and so. So maybe I just have that, that gleam in my eyes because I've known of them and have been with them for quite a long amount of time. But like I said, that won't last forever, even on my watch. If it gets to a certain point where I realize I can make huger, larger, better gains from selling off XRP and putting it into another coin that I think has more of a long-term potential, I'm going to do it. Yeah. So that's the first part. And let's move on. Next up, Charlie Lee and Litecoin are in the news, keeping up once again with the do or die, now is the time to prove yourself type of thing. Litecoin founder Charlie Lee has addressed recent project abandonment allegations. In a series of tweets published on the 11th of August, Litecoin founder Charlie Lee addressed allegations that Litecoin did not have further plans for the coming year. He said recently there's been a lot of FUD about Litecoin having no code commits in 2019. When you look at Litecoin GitHub, it would seem like we did no work in 2019. There are actually 2 reasons why this is the case, even though we have been developing. A number of people over the last couple of months have been asking, this is a very honest video. People have been asking me why I have a negative sentiment around Litecoin. It's not that it's negative, but I think I've entered that. Remember, I told you, the walking through the door period. I think I entered that a couple of months ago when it came to Litecoin. I didn't care for the fact that Charlie Lee, my opinion, I didn't care for the fact that he openly admitted that he sold his Litecoin. I think that had a detrimental effect on the price. It's very interesting. It's kind of like Steve Jobs or someone else major working for a major company, Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon, Netflix, any other name you can think of, and they go, yeah, I believe in the project, and I'm going to sell all my stock tomorrow. In any company, if the founder sells their shares, this is a very negative thing. You can typically sell 2% of your shares, 5% of your shares, especially if you announce beforehand, we're going to be expanding the company. I need to sell 5% of my shares. I will be doing it on so-and-so date. And everyone knows exactly when it's coming. I don't think Charlie Lee understands exactly how big that he is. When you see him on interviews, I think that he believes that he is a minor player in the space. He created one of the largest cryptocurrencies in the entire world. The market cap and usage of Litecoin is probably dwarfing a number of other countries around the world. I don't think he understands his significance and his importance. And to sell off your coins, people say that he didn't sell it. People say that he donated it. You can Google Charlie Lee sells coins. He's had interviews. He had multiple interviews where he said that he sold off the coins and he feels bad because he did it as the market was at its very high. And people thought that he did it because he knew when the price was going to fall. I don't think so. I think that he sold simply because he believed that he was having too much of an impact on the project, but he also didn't really take into account the fact that him selling his coins would have a negative impact, because as a creator, as an anything, you can't sell what you've created. It means you've lost faith. You can also find as well, if you Google this, Charlie Lee talking positively about the cryptocurrency known as Nano. He announced this after he had sold his Litecoin, that he liked the project Nano. And he also had another thing where he said, I believe you should buy Bitcoin. He said buy one whole Bitcoin before you buy any other SHIT coin. He said, yes, Litecoin included. Even more on top of that, the fact that he has made sure to announce during different, not sessions, the thing where, I'm going to learn this word one day. Conference, the people where, the thing where people sit on the stage. He's also announced many times before, I lost my entire train of thought. It's been a constant, I believe more in Bitcoin, not in Litecoin rhetoric. And it's gotten kind of annoying. And on top of that as well, the people, other GitHubs. So for those who don't know, GitHub is a website where you can pretty much, you post code for something or something that you're thinking about implementing on a cryptocurrency project, on a blockchain or something. I have this idea. This is what we're thinking about. Here's the code for it. Everyone look through it so that it's open source. Everyone can see exactly what's going on. What does everyone think of this code? Around 3 months ago, people were announcing that even in 2018, the people from Litecoin or the Litecoin Foundation hadn't updated their GitHub, or when they did, it was usually once every 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. So as other projects continuously update their GitHub or even their Medium pages or any other place where they can announce, we're thinking of doing this, we're going to do this, this may be happening, we're going to implement this. We saw this on another project and we're thinking about doing it on ours as well, because we believe it could initiate more privacy. We could have more of this, we could have more of this and that on our project. Litecoin hasn't really done that at all. The first reason Lee provided for the apparent lack of work on Litecoin is that most of the updates applied to Litecoin were originally developed for Bitcoin, and as such, only the original development dates appear. He said, and I do quote, what this means in practice is that although we did work on and released the latest Litecoin core in May of 2019, if you look at GitHub, most of the commits were done in 2018, so it would seem like Litecoin developers took the year off, end quote. The second reason provided is that the Litecoin developers do not work on the master branch of the project on GitHub. This decision is meant to ensure that building from sources obtained from this branch do not return broken builds. Indeed, leading Litecoin developer Adrian Gallagher has been actively working on Litecoin Core version 0.18.1 on a personal branch, according to Lee. Without reading any more, is actually, you can find it on Twitter as well. The entire, he went on a bit of a tweet storm explaining everything that's been going on. But this is what I mean. We've gotten to the point where people are, I think you need to be more of a leader. People, not me saying that directly to Charlie Lee, but I think people want leadership. People want to know that the stuff that they've put their money into is going to be put to good work. Hold on one second. It's the same exact thing where I mentioned before and people got a little upset at me. It is what it is. The only real news that we've had from Litecoin over the last, I want to say 13, 14 months has been the acquisition of a bank. A 9% partnership in a bank acquisition that they've partnered with, I think, the UFC, another fighting ring thing where people are punching each other in the face. I think it was a sports car thing, and I think a baseball team. And they've been selling cufflinks and a bunch of other things, and it's kind of like, okay, that's cool. That's cute. That's amazing. That's wonderful. What are you going to do with this coin? A large part of Litecoin over the last couple of years has been whatever is put on Bitcoin will simply then take and lay on top of Litecoin. And this is where it gets very hazy and foggy for me, because the original intention, so saith Charlie Lee, for Litecoin was to act as a test network for Bitcoin, i.e., they have the same source code, so whatever is going to happen on, which is also kind of weird to use your coin kind of like a lamb for slaughter kind of thing. He announced that anything that could potentially be put on top of Bitcoin, they would put onto Litecoin first to test to see if it was safe. And if it was safe and it did work and it was implemented correctly, they could then know that it was okay for Bitcoin. But since then, there are multiple test networks for Bitcoin. No one wanted to exclusively rely on Litecoin. They have other test nets that people do stuff on top of Bitcoin, the test nets, all the time. See if it's going to work, if they have to change the code, if there are bugs, what have you, so on and so forth. So Litecoin has kind of built itself as this gigantic tree where the leaves are falling off during summer. And it's a little weird because in this position, especially if you believe in the nature of decentralization or in what cryptocurrencies could potentially do for multiple people around the world, I felt multiple times that the people from Litecoin, my opinion, should have kind of pushed themselves forward a little bit more, try to have a bit more acquisitions, to try and get more companies, to try and get more so-and-so to use Litecoin. People using Litecoin in their HTC phone is cool. People being able to pay for a holiday with Litecoin is wonderful. People buying bubble gum with Litecoin, wow, that's great. It's more so, I would have appreciated I would have liked more if Charlie Lee had said, I'm going to step away from the actual development on Litecoin, but I'm going to make sure that the adoption of Litecoin would continue, and he had done something along the lines of what the people from Ripple were doing, or even the people from EOS. I would have even slightly preferred a hype session the same exact way that Justin Sun had done. Just something it feels, and I'm glad I'm not the only one who feels this way, and that to the point where he had to do something on Twitter and let other people know that apparently that it's false. It's this, you feel that he's abandoned it. You feel that he's just not really stuck with it. He doesn't really care about it. Even Vitalik Buterin has also had claims like this against him before. And he announced, he was like, no, I'm definitely here. He's like, I won't be here forever, and I'll let people know. But he said, I want Ethereum to be complete, and then I'll move on to another project. So I think Litecoin has been teetering for a while. I thought Litecoin could have been one of the greatest projects that we had out there. There are a number of people who still believe that Litecoin is undervalued, who believe that Litecoin could potentially, one day, they think, be around 1/4 the value of a Bitcoin. Not too sure about that. I think we could have been a good 1/10 of the value of a Bitcoin if Charlie Lee had done a bit more. And that's not me blaming him. I understand exactly. He wants the project to be more decentralized, but regardless of decentralization, you still have to stick by what you've done. I give Litecoin a year and some change. I don't expect the project to become dust and simply disappear, but I think we're going to get to the point where people will go, once again, that coin is making other people more money. I have not made an enormous amount of money. I'm going to choose that coin over the coin that I'm currently holding. If you get what I'm saying. Yeah. Next, keeping in mind, this all happened over the weekend. This isn't even like a month's worth of information. This all took place over the weekend. This is why I said I feel it in the air that so much news like this has come out. It's clear that something is taking hold of the cryptocurrency space. Blockchain decentralized application platform known as Tron has announced the release of a side-chain scaling solution known as the Sun Network in a blog post published yesterday. Tron released the version 1.0 code for the Sun Network, which is a scaling solution designed to enhance and ensure a supposedly unlimited scaling capacity of the Tron network. This will purportedly let dApps consume less energy and run with a higher security and efficiency on Tron. The post further reads that the Sun Network smart contract transition and more customizable requirements such as setting sidechain incentives transaction rates, and confirmation speed, among others. The post explains, and I do quote, "The overall solution of the Sun network will provide unlimited scalability to the Tron mainnet, allowing for more possibilities to the development of Tron dApps and the entire ecosystem. The solution also strives to bring positive impacts to the whole blockchain industry while flourishing the Tron network," end quote. So, when Tron was released, it was known as, or people were calling it, the end all to Ethereum. It was them, Cardano, and EOS. These were the triplets that were released within months of each other that were supposed to have taken down Ethereum in 2018. I'm pretty sure a lot of you also remember, what's that guy? He runs the EOS podcast. He said he had a bet with someone else that he believed by the end of 2018 that one EOS would be worth, I think, $1,000. So we had a lot of big talk. A lot of stuff was happening behind the scenes in the cryptocurrency, even in our faces in the cryptocurrency spotlight. The people from Tron, especially Justin Sun, had announced that Tron's price was going to go up. Tron was going to be able to do this. Tron was going to have these partnerships. And for those of you who were not here during the Tron partnership era, nearly every single partnership that they had was not an actual partnership. And that's not me spreading FUD. That's me telling you exactly what we were going over on the channel. You can Google it, especially the aftermath of people realizing that these partnerships were not actually partnerships. One of the major, I think they announced that they had partnered with Google, or that they would be doing something incredible with Google. Big things were in the works. Tron's price went up. People lost their minds. They were like, you see? Tron is working with Google. Do you understand how big that is? Even Ethereum couldn't pull that off. And the news was the partnership was that Tron would be using Google's cloud solutions for their network capacity. It had nothing to do with them signing a letter or memorandum of understanding with the people from Google. This happened multiple times. The people from Tron also announced that they would be capable of doing unlimited transactions. They'd be able to scale to the moon and back. They'd be able to do anything that any other coin couldn't do, 38,000 times better. And I mentioned multiple times, I said, every time that people from Tron speak, the price of Tron goes up, even when no one's actually using the coin. Then we had other news that their number of decentralized applications on their platform had surpassed everything that Ethereum had, everything that Cardano had, and everything that EOS had, and how much better they were. We found out that a lot of the applications were just gambling apps. And then we had news from the people from EOS. I think they said that they had stress tested their network, and I think they were capable of doing 1,500 to 2,000 transactions per second. Wonderful. People from Tron came forward and said, well, ours can do between 5,000 and 10,000 transactions per second. Great. That's amazing. They announced the Sun network, I believe it was sometime last year. I don't remember the exact time frame. Me and Tron aren't the best of friends, so I don't remember everything that Tron does or says. Eventually, we will get to a point in about, I want to say 3 years, where Tron will either be remembered as one of the greatest investment opportunities that nobody paid attention to, the same exact way Google, Amazon. For those of you who are not here, when I was a little child in the middle of the 90s, no one liked Apple. Everyone thought that Apple was a fluke. It was gone. People use it in the 80s. No one's using it. And I don't know, for those of you, I remember seeing them. These colorful laptops. They were in red and blue. They had like a plastic shell. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have seen them. That put Apple back on the map, and they became one of the largest companies in the entire world like we have them right now. Tron is either going to do an Apple moment, or they're going to be known as one of the greatest flops in the cryptocurrency history as a whole. Announcing that you have something that can scale unlimitedly is very big. The people from IOTA announce that as well. For those of you who were here for a couple of years, I'm pretty sure you remember years ago, people told me that I was an idiot. I remember, and I remember making that video, and those were some of the first negative comments that I really had on the channel, and I remember being flabbergasted. I couldn't understand why people hated me or why they didn't see what I saw, but I understand that people just like to complain. This is what I kind of chalk it up to at this point. I remember reading the white paper for IOTA. I remember seeing what they claimed, and I remember realizing that it didn't really work. And I stayed reserved for a number of weeks. And I remember watching discussions between other coders and other developers talking about that they themselves, I'm not a coder, but I can read, thank you. And I remember making sure to listen to what a number of developers and coders had said about the code. And they all said, that's not possible. This isn't actually workable. You can't do that. It would scale to a certain point, but it would crumble under its own weight. That's when I decided to tell the community, hey, this is what I think about it, because the discussion was the same exact thing that we're going through right now, where people assume that Tron, EOS, and Cardano, and Lisk, and any other coin out there that they can compete with Ethereum. The idea is that IOTA would be able to compete with XRP. Oh yeah, same exact thing with Stellar. Put IOTA and Stellar in the same exact bucket. People were like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Stellar is far more superior than XRP. And I said, the coin's inflationary and it's going to continue for a very long time, while XRP is deflationary. You have no idea what you're talking about. IOTA can scale to 1 billion transactions per second. I said, okay, let's see it. At that point, we were at the beginning of the stress test area, where people were trying to send as many small transactions per second as fast as they could to see exactly how many transactions that the network could handle. This was the same exact time, for those of you who were also here. Remember when Bitcoin had 200,000 transactions that were backed up in 2017, and the transactions fees were around $25, and people were like, what is going on? I think it was a friendly competition or an unfriendly competition that was taking place behind the scenes, where multiple cryptocurrency projects were spamming each other's networks just to see exactly how much they could take. At a certain point, allegedly, people were announcing that they were losing their IOTA. Their transactions weren't going through. Certain things just weren't connecting on the network. It took too long to do this. What have you. Not to spend too much time talking about the IOTA saga, but this is the same exact, it's almost a mirror image of exactly what's happening right now. Ethereum is having an enormous problem with scaling. Either they can't seem to figure it out, they can't get the code right, and this is why we also saw them talking about potentially having to use other networks just to get their engine kind of running, because they can't really do it themselves. When you announce that you have created something that allows for unlimited transactions, if your network can't handle that, people will abandon your project. People have already left Tron because 2018 was the hypiest period I've ever seen in my entire existence. The entire time. Non-stop, Justin Sun kept on making claims, and I get it. We were in a downtrend. I get it. But all that good news, one would have assumed, would have translated into heavy price action during 2019. If the Sun network, which is meant to be the answer to the Lightning network, does not allow Tron to even do 100,000 transactions per second, or anything else, or have lower transaction fees, or have lower anything else, people are going to abandon Tron and they're going to move on. We are watching history in the making, because there's only so many times that you can say, we can do this. We're going to be better than you. We are going to far out surpass you, and you don't do it. People will, you understand what I'm trying to say. So apparently the Sun network is a thing. Tron is awesome and amazing and cool and fast. By the middle of 2020, if Tron has not done what the Sun network is supposed to do, I'm going to assume that we're going to see a heavy fall off, outflow of people from Tron. Like I said, this holds true for Litecoin. This holds true as well for Ripple and XRP. There's no real difference. People in this community, especially within this market, especially in this young market, are trying to make money. Some of these coins are going to do exceptionally well, but it's a matter of if the stuff that they keep talking about is actually going to happen. Let's move on. Next up, 15 nations are planning to set up a system to monitor cryptocurrency transactions alongside the Financial Action Task Force, a Friday report indicates. According to the Nikkei Asian Review, the aim is to stem the movement of funds for illicit purposes, wow, such as money laundering and funding of terrorism by collecting and sharing transaction data, as well as the personal information of cryptocurrency users. The Financial Action Task Force, the international money laundering watchdog, would manage the project, which is slated to be finalized by next year and live within several years. That doesn't make any sense. The 15 nations, including the G7 members, Australia and Singapore, would adopt the system as well. This was said by Nikkei. In June, the Financial Action Task Force issued standards on crypto regulation, setting out that its 30 member nations should set rules for cryptocurrency service providers, including that they must monitor and report suspicious transactions and share data on cryptocurrency users with other platforms. So, a couple of months ago, we had information from the leaders of the rich world. It was the G20 and the G7. They had come forward and said that we needed cryptocurrency regulations. The people from the Financial Action Task Force said, got it, cool. And they listed out a huge amount of criteria for exactly what should be done when monitoring cryptocurrency transactions. What we have now is that at least 15 nations have come forward and said we plan on doing this, and it's pretty much going to probably tie directly into the system that we currently have right now. I believe they will probably link up with cryptocurrency exchanges who agree to do what they're trying to do. I would not be surprised if we saw cryptocurrency exchanges picking up their laptops and simply going to another nation where these things aren't indicated so that they are not obligated to share the data with the Financial Action Task Force. I am also of the mindset that I believe that as time ends up going on and as more banks and institutions and so end up having their own cryptocurrency, that these are also obviously going to be initiated and linked up with the Financial Action Task Force as well. Keeping in mind, remember 2018 and 2017, the amount of banks who came forward announcing that they were going to have custody solutions at some point for cryptocurrencies. I assume as crypto becomes larger, that banks are going to start offering custody solutions and then actual bank accounts with cryptocurrencies. This is why I think that the people from Coinbase did this first. They announced some new coin that is, not a new coin, a card that is linked directly to your coins on their website. If you want to spend money, you can do so-and-so. I think it's a Visa card. Something as simple as that. It's very easy to implement with the other cryptocurrencies as well, and I assume this is what's going to end up happening. What we have is... Oh, also the other part, maybe the best part for everyone, is that the longer countries take to give cryptocurrency regulations or to put this thing into a box and say, this is cryptocurrency, this is exactly what we're going to do with you, the stronger the cryptocurrency space becomes. The fact that they say that this is going to be finalized by next year and live within the next several years, my opinion, from what I've heard other prominent people say in the cryptocurrency space, from what I've seen and read about how rapidly the cryptocurrency space is going to grow, I think that they will be too late, or they will be able to corner a section of the market that only involves them. Within the next couple of years, if we get a Bitcoin price of around $50,000, that would be a $1 trillion market cap. That's the moment when people believe that Bitcoin's price is going to go completely insane, and other people will start to adopt, create, make systems that make it more convenient for you to be able to pay in Bitcoin, you to pay in cryptocurrencies. Same exact way that the entire Backed initiative is trying to do that thing with Starbucks and Whole Foods and blah, 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 and the other 38 companies. I imagine that since 2008 has passed, they have probably signed on at least at least 20 other companies who are also going to be joining this initiative. As the price goes higher, more things will become easier for us to buy, sell, trade, use, go places exclusively with cryptocurrency. We're going to enter a point as well. We've had many, what's the word? Not implementations. People have come forward multiple times on GitHub, Bitcoin coders and developers, to announce that they have created something or that they plan on eventually announcing to the community or implementing something within the next couple of years that will allow Bitcoin and many other cryptocurrency transactions to have to be completely private, i.e. people don't know where they're going, who's using them, etc., etc. I'm pretty sure regulators maybe know about this. It's just a matter of they can't stop it. You can't stop this code from being implemented or other side chains being created by other people that will allow people to have more obfuscated transactions. There was one that we read about, I think, either the beginning of this year or the end of last year, where they were talking about it would pretty much be like a mixer, like certain things. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was amazing. And that's just one thing. So imagine if you have, over the course of 3 years, let's say 9 different side chains and or other layers around Bitcoin. So when you send transactions, no one knows where they're going except for the person who's receiving them and you sending them. All of these things will be implemented at some point as far as the Financial Action Task Force's cryptocurrency rules. But I think, like I said, regulators like to take a long time, and them taking a long time is only better for us because crypto develops very fast. I think myself that regulators are used to a world where things have to take a long time, that things don't move quickly. But if you use a smartphone, if you use the internet, you know that information travels around the world very quickly. You can live in Canada and have friends in Japan. You can live in South Africa and have friends in the United Kingdom. You can talk to them and message them and video chat with them in a second. Things move incredibly rapidly. And this is what's also, point is, we're going to have these rules on top of cryptocurrencies and many other things in the future. I think they will mostly apply to real estate transactions, larger transactions, because as crypto becomes more popular, I think it'll be almost impossible to completely implement something like this where where the government has to keep track of you buying a coffee, buying a pack of cigarettes, buying some diapers, anything small like that. I think that what governments are going to try and do, especially since they keep announcing that they're trying to stop money laundering, and money laundering usually goes over anywhere between the $5,000 to $10,000 region, depending on what country you're in. I assume they'll try to track transactions that big. Anything smaller than around 600, I want to say, probably won't even hit a radar in any way, shape, or form. Anyway, this is going to be implemented far, far away in the next couple of years. I assume a good 2.5 years away. I wouldn't be shocked if it takes maybe 3 years, simply because of how long things take. Here's the actual thing from the Nikkei Asian Review, where they're talking. That's actually kind of amazing, where they're holding up the Bitcoin coins next to the laundered US dollars. Clever. To kind of finish things off, Hester Pierce, commissioner of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, says the agency is working hard to make the United States a more enticing place for blockchain developers. Despite reports that talent and crypto-centric businesses are fleeing, which we've seen many times before, a number of companies have left the United States. And I think the only one, I think, to my knowledge, that has come back or is coming back is Binance, and this is why they're creating Binance US. Someone said something to me in the comment section yesterday, and I can't remember what it was. They were saying that, gosh, what was it? Oh, yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Someone in the comment section said that Binance US is only going to benefit people like me in Canada and also people living in Africa. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. It's called Binance US because it's going to be for people within the United States. I don't know how that got misconstrued. Maybe I didn't pronounce US correctly. Despite reports that talent and crypto-centric businesses are fleeing, which they are, due to regulatory uncertainty, Pierce says that the goal is to create an environment where the United States can nurture new projects. Sorry for laughing. Can nurture new projects and support the nascent technology. I think that's a lie. I think the entire thing that they're trying to do is trying to figure out exactly how to control it. There has never been a moment in history where something new has come out and governments went, let's nurture this. Let's make sure that this grows without us paying attention to it. I'm certain that the entire point of what governments are doing, the same exact thing with the Financial Action Task Force, the International Monetary Fund, and the European Central Bank and the World Bank, they're trying to figure out how to get a hold on cryptocurrencies, or if not a hold, how to hold the leash to make sure that they can see where it's going and that they can pay more attention to it as opposed to it kind of just floating around by itself. In a new interview with blockchain project Dragon Chain, Pierce responds to a question about how far U.S. policymakers are from implementing a clear regulatory framework for digital assets. She said, and I do quote, "It's difficult because there are a number of different areas in which clarity is needed, but I always caution people that a big agency like the SEC, any government agency that has existed for a long time and has lots of rules on the books, it can take a really long time to amend those rules and to provide some new clarity." She said, one thing that I think a lot of people in this community don't realize is that the SEC does lots of different things. We know that. And so we've got a pretty packed agenda, and it's sometimes hard to find time on the agenda if you have a rule ready to go to get the rule finalized. I'm not going to even read any more of what she said. Here's the actual thing right here. I like Hester Pierce because of her being an advocate for the cryptocurrency community. However, none of this really makes sense in my mind. It does not take 2 to 3 years to give regulation for anything. If the cryptocurrency space was that much of an issue, or you don't have as many people working in your office as everyone else thinks that you do, simply lay the rules of securities on top of cryptocurrencies and we can move on from there. The fact that they've taken so long, the fact that they're going to take longer, only lets me know that more companies are going to leave the US. Exactly what we see happening in India. There's been a massive exodus of people picking up their stuff, leaving India, going to other countries that are more friendly for them when it comes to cryptocurrency development, blockchain development, creating cryptocurrencies, creating ICOs, or even just tax-wise. The longer you take to give regulation within your country, the worse it becomes for you as time goes on. Even now, I think, once again, bringing this full circle, as far as we have entered the door of do it or go away kind of thing. If by the time the markets explode, remember the hype that we had in 2017? Remember how crazy everybody went? How many other scams and ICOs flourished and blossomed immediately the moment prices were going completely insane, and how many people put their money into them? The SEC and the CFTC said that they came forward in the very beginning, or rather in 2017, because they saw that there was a need for them. So saith them. That i.e., people were being scammed, and therefore they had to step in order to be able to help normal people who simply couldn't get their life together. If it was that much of a problem, you could have simply said, we are the SEC, we are the CFTC. These are securities. Even Bitcoin could have been thrown into that bucket. It wouldn't have worked for Bitcoin because there's no master of Bitcoin, but you understand exactly what I'm saying. They're going to take a long time. I don't assume that by the end of this year, the CFTC is going to have their ducks in a row. I don't even think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that the IRS also has clear rules as to exactly what cryptocurrencies are and how they're going to be taxed. None of them have anything together, and this is why it's been very fascinating that over the last 3 months, even if you want to slim it down to the last 3 weeks, all the countries who have come forward announcing their cryptocurrency regulations, even the United Kingdom, we went over it in the video. They've been coming out one by one very rapidly to say exactly what these things are. They've given a framework for what a security is within their country. And if your coin matches these criteria, I'm sorry, you're a security and you'll have to tell us. If your coin looks like this, they even said it in the paper. If your coin looks like Bitcoin, you are not a security and you can go on doing as you did before. It's taken them a very long time. I think they're going to continue doing so. And I think, my opinion, that this is going to heavily damage the outlook of the cryptocurrency space within the States. And I don't mean that everyone's going to flee. I think once we do have regulations, I think prices will explode, things will flourish, new companies will be made, security, commodity, gold, silver, blah, 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 wonderful life. If they had done this 2 years ago, I think the US would be a mega powerhouse right now for cryptocurrency. I think that everyone would be rushing to make money as quickly as possible. You saw what happened during the entire Silicon Valley growth period. People rushed to California to make as much money as possible, and it made an enormous amount of millionaires and amount of billionaires. If they had had the same exact thing and said, or someone had, if they had given regulation and someone had said, you can go to Miami, you can go to Texas, or you can even do stuff in, imagine creating a law, this is my opinion, or rather regulation, and then the people from Detroit saying within our borders, within, what is it? Detroit, oh gosh. Anyway, can't remember the state that Detroit is in, I apologize. That you have 0% taxes on cryptocurrencies, how quickly that city would have built up even further, and how it's very fascinating. I understand why they take a long time. It's because I think that they think that things aren't going to go quickly, that things won't move without them, and that's not how cryptocurrency works. Bitcoin doesn't care if you regulate it or not. Bitcoin doesn't care if you like it or if you aren't going to buy it. Bitcoin will continue to grow. There are millions of people around the world, not just within the United States, who are buying up Bitcoin, who are buying up mining machines, who are buying up fragments of Satoshis, who are doing all these things. So even if the US took another 5 years, it really wouldn't matter, because we would still go through 2 halving events and the price of Bitcoin would have gone over $100,000 by that point. So I guess the point I'm trying to make after all of this is that 2019 is going to be a very fascinating year. Between the trade wars, between China being declared a currency manipulator, between the stock market, oh my gosh, if you listen to any Wall Street Journal podcast, just type in WSJ and you'll find they have like the future of everything, money talks, they have all these other things. Listen to any financial news thing about what's happening with stocks, especially what's happening with tech stocks. People believe that these things have been overvalued for the last 2 years, that they're not even in a bubble anymore. It's like a globe-sized bubble that's going to pop very, very soon. Also keeping in mind that we are also in the year for the Brexit, which is expected to be a hard Brexit at this point, or no deal Brexit, which also, you can also Google that around. I'm sure you'll be able to find it. People think that if there's a no deal Brexit, or as we get closer to the date and there is no deal, that Bitcoin could completely lose its mind, and something beyond the words of parabolic could begin to happen. Because we've seen before in situations like Cyprus and many other countries around the world, when they had negative news, Bitcoin shot up by like 300%. When other countries aren't doing well, or they've announced, yeah, we're not doing too hot, Bitcoin has gone up by 18% that week. So when a major country like the United Kingdom potentially going through the threat or the idea that they could have a no deal situation, Bitcoin would probably, so the analysts say, do very well. It's a very, very fascinating year for everyone, for the coins, for the space, for projects, for onboarding hundreds of new clients. I think we are witnessing something great, but the greatness has to show itself. We can't have a situation where Ripple keeps signing contracts and the price doesn't move. We cannot continue to have a situation where even something as simple as updating your GitHub is very simple. You have to take, not that you have to be dominant, you have to show other people that you're still around, that you still do what you do, that to have a tweet storm and tell other people, I'm still here. It's still great. We're still working on it. Just show people. Update once a week on Twitter to say exactly what's happening with Litecoin. Update every 3 weeks on GitHub for things that you think about implementing on Litecoin. We're a very open and active community. I talk about the news every single day because people like to hear about the developments of things that they hold. You have to, I mean, you don't have to be as intense as Justin Sun and Tron. Do it every fifth day. Talk about new developments. Talk about where you're traveling. Talk about what you're trying to do. How you're trying to get your coin adopted. How you're trying to do so and so and so. I guess that's all I'm going to say about all of these topics. However, it is very fascinating to me that by the end of this year, we will definitely know with a bit more clarity or certainty exactly which coins are going to be the top ones. Because I still think 2018 was a great time. Because a lot of the more horrible coins definitely disappeared. A lot of them, you don't hear about them anymore. And I think when Bitcoin continues to siphon off money from the other coins, and then some of the other coins start to react to the siphoning and start to go up as well, or start to slam down, by the middle, and I keep saying the middle of next year, because when Bitcoin has its halving reward cut in half, it's going to start to move. Probably upwards, no one knows. It's going to move a lot. And this is where we're getting those $50,000 to $250,000 price predictions. Other coins are going to have to move. It won't be well, let's wait about 6 more months to see. When Bitcoin is nearing $100,000, if your coin hasn't moved, your coin is not going to move, because other people will have started to sell off their coins in mass to make sure that they get some of that sweet, sweet Bitcoin money, if you get what I'm saying. As always, an enormously, gigantically, monstrously huge thank you to my Patreon supporters. They are Professor Wally from Gunbot University, Strange Radio Central, Milweezy, Damien, Bankroll Network, Master Ventures in Thailand, Cryptopolis, 242 to the World, Triple M and J, My Keto Kitchen, Assam M. El Zofri, Adobo, Crypto and Beer Shipmate, Brady Niels, L. Doug, Jared Schneider, Wise Night Owl, Crypto Joe, Mohair Maroney, Carl Birchenoff, singer-songwriter Mike Savitz, Rai Rai, Yasha Harari, Amy Starsheen, Jeffrey Ramsey, Clara T. Snowden, Crypto Artist Cole D, 3D, Nicholas Wernerth, One Piece One Love, Setsuna, Nick Kanaya, Richie Rich the Third, RF Dusty, Vlad the Impaler, Paxis, Tom Sucks at Basketball, and Sam Skips Leg Day, Jeremy the Photographer, Jim Gardner, Minting Coins, Arthur Yaku, Nick Mangialavori, Anthony Charles, and Mechanic. Thank you all an insurmountable amount for your continued support. At the moment, for those who are not looking at the screen, for those who may be driving or doing something, you can't look at the screen. Bitcoin is still in its really weird side trend, relatively tight trading range situation right now. Last couple of minutes, the price has actually been going up, but the other coins they're acting reactionarily. Reactionally? They're reacting to Bitcoin seemingly going up. Oh, Tether's also going down, so this could be an indication that things are being sold off as the numbers are in green. We'll see exactly what ends up happening by the end of today, and also what happens by the end of this week. I guess those predictions, it's really funny. Remember the analyst who said last week that Bitcoin was going to hit 15,000, I believe it was by this week or by Friday. And don't really see it. This is why I always say, predictions are fun to sometimes go over, but never take them to heart. Never take them completely seriously, unless every single analyst on Earth comes to the same exact conclusion, then I'll go, okay, something's about to happen. If you have 40,000 people all saying the exact same thing, then it happens. But people always have a bit of an up and down. There's no real coin. Everyone, rather and don't hate me, the most important coins aren't doing too bad right now. I think nothing is really going insane in either direction. Nope, we have some down by 6%, down by 1%, up by 3%. Nothing is really doing horribly or exceptionally amazing. At least, nope, nothing insane. So, We'll see exactly what ends up happening to the prices. I feel like things are going to go up today, unless some gigantic whale decides to put in some fake sell orders, then what have ye. I hope you all enjoyed. Hope that you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and listening. I hope you have an incredible week. I know Mondays can be a bit hard. I think it's Monday. Is it Monday? Is it Monday? Yes, it's Monday. I know Mondays can be a bit hard, but yeah, just try and stick with it. I have a number of friends. It's really funny. They go to work and they like turn their screen sideways and just kind of like watch YouTube and stuff all day. Not telling you to do that. I don't want you to get you caught by your boss, but try to find time to take out for yourself, because working sometimes is a bit strenuous. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.